Arnold writes in that he bought a beautiful home. In fact, he would call it his dream home. But because Richard, who's the seller, had not found his next home, Arnold agreed to let Richard, again the seller, stay in the property after closing and pay rent to Arnold for 3 months. So that's always a concern. Make sure you have an attorney write up that document so far, right, Kev? You agree
Correct.
with
It's
that?
called a post-closing occupancy agreement.
Got it. There's a reason for that, because now we fast forward 1 month, and Richard, again, who's the seller and is also the renter, because he's no longer selling, he sold it, he's renting, fell off a ladder at the home. Apparently, Richard had no insurance and insisted on suing Arnold, the new owner, because he said they were responsible. Apparently he was doing something in the house and he fell. So Arnold, who is the buyer and now owner, is countersuing. Richard is refusing to move out of the house even after the lease expired. Arnold says the whole thing is just a complete disaster. What's the next step? Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's why we always suggest that a post-closing occupancy agreement, if there's any other way to do it, to avoid it. And again, I've been doing this a long enough period of time. We had one where they got divorced 2 weeks after the closing. The soon-to-be ex-wife refused to get out. The worst one was someone actually committed suicide a couple weeks after the closing. So those type of situations can occur, and that's why it's good to have possession day of closing, which is standard in the industry. Sometimes you'll do 3 days, something like that, but it's a short period of time. And the other reason, it's a post-closing occupancy agreement, not a rental or lease agreement, because it puts you in a
Landlord?
Yes. Well, it makes you a landlord tenant, and then
Yeah.
there's protections available under local law as well as state law. If you're a tenant, like they refuse to get out, an eviction, there's a whole myriad of legal rights that tenants have. So it's always got to be framed as you're not a tenant, you are a occupant, which is a short period of time. It's like a license to use the property for a short period of time. So they got themselves in a quite the pickle, I guess is a good way of saying it. And the attorneys will probably feast on it for a little bit. But, in that situation, you just have to talk to your insurance agent. I'm thinking about doing this. They're going to be in there for 3 months. Here's what type of policy can the occupant provide? What kind of policy do I need to cover me for all these contingencies? Because a lot of time, a homeowner's policy will only cover you for a very short period of time after you've sold the property. You don't have an insurable interest anymore. See an attorney, talk to your insurance agent, avoid it at all costs if you can, and just make sure if your insurance agent says they can't cover you for these type of risk, you got to say no.
Yeah, and again, the key thing to take away, folks, is there are forms on our GLAR, Greater Louisville Association of Realtor website that we can use, but it's so much better, it's so much stronger if an attorney like Kevin does this and writes it out and then gets signatures, so you have some teeth in it if the other side doesn't perform.
Well, that's what's common though. Is you all have the forms. It's always usually in your normal deal. It's be what, a 3-5 business day
Days, right?
Yeah,
3
days.
months.
Short period.
That's crazy. That's a long period of time. So, all right.